Hello everyone, today we'll learn how to create this image grid scroll animation using gsap and scroll trigger. First of all, let's create a container named content, and inside that create another container named grid. Now inside this grid container we'll make a new div named grid item that has an image inside of it. Now let's style the grid item container to have two variables, R and C. You'll see later on why it is used. Now let's copy this grid item container 22 more times or as much as you want according to the need. Now also let's change all of the images as well. Now let's do some basic CSS styling first. Now for the grid container, let's set its position to relative, its width to 100%, display property to grid, and the grid template columns to have a function repeat with value 8 and 1fr, with 8 being the total number of repeats, meaning there will be 8 columns each taking equal portion of the available space within the container. Now for the grid item container, let's set its position to be relative, its grid column property to have variable c, its grid row property to have variable r. Now remember, we've set the variables value in the HTML file so that each grid item container has a different value. Now for the grid item image, uh, we set its position to be relative, width to be 100%, and height to be auto. Its aspect ratio to be 1, so that it has equal width and height, and its background size to be cover, and its background position to be 50% vertically and 50% horizontally. Now let's change each of the variable value, with R meaning row and C meaning column. This means the item is placed in the first row and the fourth column, the second row and the fourth column, and so on. Now let's correct this as well. Now let's create a container with a text inside of it. The class name will be title container, and inside of it will be an h2 with a class of title. Similarly, let's create a footer with a h2 text inside of it as well. Now for the text container, we'll set its position to be fixed, its width to be 100% of the viewport, height to be 100% of view height, the position to be top 0 and left 0, this display property to be flex, align items to be center, flex direction to be column, and justify content to be center, so that the text is centered in the division. And finally, the pointer events property to none, so that the mouse pointer has no effects on the text while hovering over it. And now for the footer, we'll set its color, its background color to be hashtag 151515, and its height to be 100% of the view height, its position to be relative, its z index to be 2, its display property to be flex, align items center, and justify content center as well. Now let's create a constant that stores an array of all the grid items. The spread operator is used to convert the node list returned by the query selector all method into an array, so that we can use the different array properties like for each, map, etc. In this case we use for each. Now we'll use the for each array method to select each grid item. Now let's create a constant that stores the image of the grid item. Now let's create a gsap timeline with the scroll trigger property, and set its trigger value to be the grid item, and its start position to be on top and top, so that it triggers the animation when the item aligns with the top of the viewport, and its end position to be bottom top to trigger the end animation when the bottom of the item aligns with the top of the viewport, and also the scrub property to be true, so that the animation will work in real time as you scroll. And now for the animation, we'll set the image. We'll select the image and set its ease property to be none, border radius to be 50%, and finally its scale to be 0. And here's the final result.